Let's wrap up quickly with a coaching case study here with Robin. So she is a director of customer experience at a tech company. She has been with the organization for 9 years, and she has been in her current leadership role for less than a year. So she rose to the individual contributor, rose the ranks as an individual contributor where people loved her. She was, knocking out of the park, really a star performer. And like many organizations, star individual contributor, oh, you can lead people, right? So they promoted Robin into a director about 8 months ago. She now has 3 management level direct reports. So she's making this transition, right, from individual contributor to leader. And there's been some concern about her management that she's really struggling to find her footing in the new role. In coaching, she's lovely, right? Really personable, hardworking. You can tell that she wants to succeed. You can tell why she was a really great individual contributor. But at the same time, she's feeling a little overwhelmed. This transition has been tough for her. And so we decided to do a 360 to figure out potentially what's going on and how can we help her, again, move through this transition. So we do the LEA, and two big blind spots come up for Robin. The first is in delegation, where she feels like she is doing it more. Her self-perception is higher than her observers. And the second is in consensual, where again, she feels like she is doing more of this than her observers are experiencing. So what does it mean? Well, let's go back to, again, this sort of 3-phase process, right? That I think is, again, really helpful to talk through this and to help people understand. Interpretation. All right, what does it mean? Delegation. Delegation for me is 2 things. First is moving things off your plate, right? Higher delegation score, the leader is quicker to move things off their plate, quicker to enlist the talents of other people and just push things down. It's also about giving people the space and the freedom to perform. So there's an empowerment function here in the delegation behavior, where again, the higher the score, the more space the leader is giving the person. Here you go. I trust you. Go make the decision you need to make to get it done. As the score comes down, 2 things happen. A little bit more reticent to move things off your plate. And when you do move things off your plate, that space contracts, right? That space contracts in terms of, yeah, I'm going to give it to you, but I'm going to hang out right next to you. And then consensual. What does consensual mean? Consensual for me is all about bringing people into the conversation and allowing them to be a part of the decision-making process, right? So consensual is about asking open-ended questions, valuing people's ideas, valuing their contributions, allowing their ideas to potentially impact your own judgment and decision. So it really is about having an open door and allowing people to contribute from really an intellectual point of view and helping that decision-making process, really collecting, again, the opinions of everyone. So what does this mean here for Robin with her self scores and the observer scores? Well, from the delegation point of view, for Robin, she feels as if she is moving things off her plate and giving people the space and the freedom to perform. So when I'm working with people, what in a scenario like this, what I will say is, from your perspective, this is how you feel. You feel like you're giving people a lot of work. You feel like you're giving them space. And then what I say is, but what I'll tell you is, if I went and I actually had a conversation with your direct reports, the story they would tell me is a little bit different. The story they would probably tell me is, yeah, I mean, Robin gives me a little bit of work, but I see her holding on to a lot. And when she does give me work, the latitude I have to do it the way that I want is really small. And so the story that your direct reports are probably tell me is a little bit different than how you might be feeling, right? So I like using the word story. I think it helps people understand it. It also might help Robin understand why she might feel so overworked, and potentially why her direct reports might not feel like she trusts them yet, right? The delegation's a big behavior, again, in relation to empowerment and trust, and that might be what's going on here. And then consensual, same thing. Robin feels like she's bringing people into the conversation, which is what I would tell her belief is. But if I went and I talked to your direct reports, again, here as an example, because it's the biggest gap, they tell me a different story. That story would be like, no, I don't, she doesn't bring me into the conversation. She's not asking me very much. And her peers would say the same thing. Boss a little bit more. If I went and talked to the boss, yeah, she asked me questions and talks about it, but still there's a decent gap there between 70 and 45%. So people here fundamentally might feel excluded from her decision making, right? It might, in some ways, what you're seeing here is, what is Robin holding on to, right? Robin is holding on to all of the things that made her successful as an individual contributor. She's in the middle of this transition, and she's having a little bit of trouble, A, letting go, B, trusting people. And these would be two things that I think we would be really focusing on in terms of her action plan. Delegation. Start small, right? Be quick here, give more space. So what's not high risk? What can you move off your plate? Be quicker to do that. And when you do, give people the space to do it. And then consensual, be curious of other people's perspectives. Ask more open-ended questions. Allow their thinking to potentially make you smarter in some way. Show appreciation for their efforts. These are all quick suggestions about what Robin might be able to do to close this gap between how she feels like she's showing up as a leader and how she's being experienced.